I knew something was wrong 3 months before she filed. Small things. The way she started asking about our finances more than usual. The lawyer friend she suddenly started having lunch with every week. The new checking account statements that stopped coming to our house. She thought she was being careful. She thought I was oblivious. But I am a financial analyst. Numbers are what I do. So I started quietly moving assets, liquidating investments, transferring funds, protecting what I built. 2 weeks later, when she finally filed for divorce, her attorney called mine with demands. My lawyer just laughed and said there is nothing left to take. Everything was already gone. Comment below where you are watching from. Hit like and subscribe, because what I did in those 3 months while she planned her exit will show you exactly how to protect yourself when you see the end coming. I met Kimberly when I was 28, working as a junior analyst at an investment firm in Chicago. She was 26, a pharmaceutical sales representative covering the Midwest territory. We met at a networking mixer neither of us wanted to attend. Bonded over complaining about forced socializing and bad wine. Started dating 2 weeks later. She was driven, charming, excellent at reading people. That made her great at sales. She consistently hit her targets, earned bonuses, traveled for work, but never seemed bothered by it. I was analytical, detail-oriented, focused on building wealth through smart investments. We complemented each other. She brought spontaneity to my structured life. I brought stability to her chaotic travel schedule. We got engaged after 3 years. Married 6 months later at a hotel in downtown Chicago. Medium-sized wedding, about 100 guests. Her family came from Ohio. Mine flew in from Oregon. It was nice, traditional, what everyone expected. We honeymooned in Greece, spent 2 weeks island hopping and talking about our future. The first 5 years of marriage were solid. We both advanced in our careers. I moved from analyst to senior analyst to associate director. She became a regional manager overseeing a team of 12 reps. We bought a condo in Lincoln Park. Nice place, 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, close to everything. Started talking about kids, but decided to wait until our early 30s. Focus on careers first, family later. Financially, we were doing well. Combined income was around $200,000. I handled all our investments, retirement accounts, saving strategies. Kimberly trusted me completely with money. She focused on her work. I focused on building our net worth. By year 5, we had about $300,000 in various accounts. Retirement funds, taxable investments, emergency savings, down payment fund for a bigger house someday. Then things started shifting. Subtle at first. Around year 6, Kimberly began asking more questions about our finances. How much did we have saved? Where was it invested? What would happen if we needed to access it quickly? I thought she was just becoming more financially aware. Answered all her questions honestly. Showed her account statements. Explained our portfolio allocation. She also started spending more time with a colleague named Heather, who was a lawyer. They met at a work conference and became fast friends. Kimberly mentioned Heather was going through a divorce, that they talked a lot about life, careers, relationships. I thought nothing of it. Everyone needs friends. Especially women going through difficult times need support systems. But the questions kept coming. Kimberly asked about how joint accounts work in Illinois, about community property versus equitable distribution states, about what happens to retirement accounts in divorce. I am a financial analyst. These were normal topics I could discuss academically. So I explained that Illinois is an equitable distribution state, that marital assets get divided fairly, but not necessarily 50-50, that retirement accounts accrued during marriage are typically split. Just factual information. Then I noticed mail disappearing. We always had our bank and investment statements mailed to our condo. Suddenly, statements from our joint checking account stopped arriving. I checked the account online. Someone had changed the mailing address to paperless. When I asked Kimberly, she said she did it to reduce clutter. Made sense. Lots of people go paperless. But it bothered me. So I started paying closer attention. I noticed Kimberly had opened a new checking account at a different bank. Found a statement she left on her desk. Just her name. not joint. When I asked about it, she said it was for her work expenses, easier to keep separate. Also reasonable. Sales reps often have dedicated accounts for business costs. 3 months before she filed, I found a notebook in her nightstand. I was not snooping. I was looking for the insurance card for our dentist. Opened the drawer and saw a spiral notebook with financial calculations written in her handwriting. Columns of numbers, assets listed, equity amounts, percentages. It was a draft calculation of what she would get in a divorce. My stomach dropped. I looked through more pages. She had listed our condo value, our car values, estimated our retirement account balances, tallied our joint savings. Then she had written scenarios. If we sold the condo, she would get X. If I bought her out, she would get Y. She was planning an exit, and she was calculating what she could take. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it. Did not confront her, did not let on that I knew. Just went to work the next day like nothing happened. But my mind was racing. My wife was planning to divorce me. And based on those calculations, she thought she was going to walk away with about $150,000, half of everything we built. That night I called a divorce attorney. Not to file, just to consult. I explained what I found. The attorney, a man named Howard, asked if I wanted to save the marriage. I said honestly, I did not know. But I wanted to be prepared in case she moved first. Howard said if I suspected she was planning to file, I should consider protecting assets now, legally, before she could claim them. He explained that anything I did had to be above board. I could not hide money or move it offshore or do anything fraudulent. But I could reposition assets in ways that were harder to divide. Max out retirement contributions. Pay down debt. Invest in things that were less liquid. Create a financial structure that benefited me in a settlement. I asked if that was ethical. Howard said ethics and legality are different things. What I was considering was legal. Whether it was ethical depended on perspective. But if Kimberly was planning to blindside me with divorce, was it ethical for her to do that? I saw his point. I spent the next 3 months systematically repositioning our assets. I did it slowly, carefully, nothing that would raise red flags. Here's exactly what I did. First, I maxed out my 401k contributions, increased my withholding from 10% to the maximum allowed $22,500 per year. That money went into my retirement account, which in Illinois would be divided based on marital portion, but the calculation is complicated and usually favors the account holder. More money in retirement meant less liquid cash to split. Second, I started prepaying our mortgage. We owed about $280,000 on the condo. I made extra principal payments every month. $5,000 here, $3,000 there. Over 3 months, I paid down an extra $20,000. That reduced our liquid savings but increased our equity in the condo, which we would likely sell and split anyway. But it also reduced the cash she could access immediately. Third, I moved money from our joint savings into a 529 education account. We did not have kids yet, but 529 accounts can be opened for future beneficiaries. I put $30,000 into a 529 plan designated for future children. That money is technically not marital property in the same way, because it is earmarked for education. Harder to claim in a divorce settlement. Fourth, I paid off both our cars. We each had small loans, maybe $15,000 combined remaining. I paid them off in full from our savings. Again, reduced liquid cash, but eliminated debt, which could be argued as financially responsible rather than asset hiding. Fifth, I bought a small rental property. Used $60,000 from our taxable investment account as a down payment on a condo in a decent neighborhood. Put it in my name only because I was the one managing it. The property immediately became a complicated asset to divide. Do we sell it? Do I keep it and buy her out? Do we both keep ownership and manage it together? Messy. And that was the point. Over 3 months, I moved about $140,000 out of easily divisible assets into retirement accounts, real estate education funds, and debt elimination. What remained in our joint accounts was about 60,000. Still significant, but much less than the 150 she was expecting to claim. I did all of this while acting completely normal at home. Kimberly had no idea. She saw mortgage payments and thought I was just managing bills. She saw retirement contributions and thought I was being financially responsible. She did not track the day-to-day enough to notice the systematic repositioning. During this time, Kimberly's behavior confirmed my suspicions. She started working out more, lost weight, changed her hairstyle, bought new clothes. Classic signs someone is preparing for single life. She also became more distant emotionally, less interested in intimacy, more time spent on her phone, more evenings out with Heather. I asked her once if everything was okay between us. She said, of course, just busy with work. I asked if she was happy. She said yes. Why would you ask? I said no reason, just checking in. She smiled and changed the subject. She was lying, and I knew it, but I played along. 2.5 months into my asset protection plan, I overheard a phone call. Kimberly was in our bedroom talking to someone. I was in the hallway. She did not know I was home early. I heard her say, "Howard said 2 more weeks and everything will be ready. Then I can file and be done with this." Howard. Her lawyer friend Heather must have referred her to an attorney named Howard. Different Howard than mine, obviously. But the timeline was clear. She was filing in 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to finish protecting everything. I accelerated my plan, moved another $15,000 into the 529 account, made another large mortgage payment, bought $10,000 in I-bonds, which are great investments but cannot be liquidated for a year. Every move was legal, documented, defensible. But collectively, it meant there was almost nothing left in accessible accounts. I also prepared emotionally, told my family what was coming. They were shocked but supportive. My brother offered to let me stay with him if I needed space. I thanked him but said I would keep the condo. It was mine. I bought it before we married, refinanced during marriage, which made it marital property, but I had the stronger claim. Exactly 2 weeks after I overheard that phone call, Kimberly served me with divorce papers. I was at work. A process server came to my office, handed me an envelope. Inside was a petition for dissolution of marriage, irreconcilable differences, requesting equitable division of marital assets, requesting temporary and permanent maintenance. Her attorney was listed, Howard Chen. I called my attorney Howard, told him she filed. He said good, we were ready. He already had a response prepared. We filed it that afternoon. In our response, we included a complete financial disclosure. Every account, every asset, every debt, all perfectly documented, all showing exactly where our money had gone over the past 3 months. The next day, Howard Chen called my Howard. I was in the room on speaker. Chen said his client was very upset, that the financial disclosures showed far less available assets than she expected. He asked where the money went. My Howard calmly explained every transaction: retirement contributions, mortgage payments, education savings, rental property purchase, all legal, all documented, all done with marital funds I had every right to manage. Chen said this looked like intentional asset dissipation. My Howard laughed, said asset dissipation is when you waste money, buy luxury items, gamble it away, spend it on affairs. This was the opposite. This was responsible financial management, paying down debt, investing in retirement, buying real estate, saving for future children. How is that dissipation? Chen said his client expected about $150,000 in liquid assets to divide. My Howard said sorry, but there is only about $60,000 in liquid accounts. Everything else is tied up in retirement, real estate, education funds, and debt elimination. If she wants to fight over it, we can go to court. But a judge will see responsible financial planning, not hiding assets. There was silence on Chen's end. Then he said he needed to talk to his client. My Howard said, "Take your time. We will be here when you are ready to negotiate reasonably." The divorce took 8 months to finalize. Kimberly was furious. She accused me of hiding money, of manipulating accounts. of screwing her over. Her attorney tried to argue that my financial moves were done in anticipation of divorce and should be unwound. My attorney countered that I had managed our finances for our entire marriage, that nothing I did was unusual, that I had always maximized retirement contributions, always paid extra on our mortgage, always invested wisely, that she could not prove I knew she was planning to file. The truth is I did know, but I never admitted it. Stuck to the story that I was just managing money like I always did. And legally that was defensible. Everything I did was something I could have done at any point in our marriage. The timing was suspicious, but not illegal. We went to mediation twice. Kimberly wanted the condo. I refused. I had owned it before we married. Yes, we refinanced during marriage, but I had the stronger claim. She wanted half the rental property. I agreed to buy her out at current value, which was barely more than what I paid since I just bought it. She wanted half my retirement account. I agreed to split the marital portion, which was only what accrued during marriage calculated down to the month. The final settlement gave Kimberly about $75,000. Her half of the liquid savings, her half of the marital portion of my retirement via QDRO, her buyout of the rental property, and her car. I kept the condo, my retirement account, minus her portion, the rental property, and the 529 account. She also got no maintenance. The judge agreed her income was sufficient, and the marriage was short enough that support was not warranted. $75,000. Half of what she calculated in that notebook. She was livid. Accused me of stealing from her. I said nothing. Just let the lawyers handle it. When the final decree was signed, I felt nothing. No victory, no sadness, just relief that it was over. Kimberly moved out of state shortly after, took a job in California. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she told people I had screwed her in the divorce, that I had hidden money, that I was vindictive. I never responded to any of it. People who knew me knew the truth. People who did not were not my concern. It has been 3 years since the divorce finalized. 3 years since Kimberly filed thinking she was going to walk away with half of everything. 3 years since her attorney called mine and learned there was nothing left to take. And life is objectively better now. The condo is fully mine. I refinanced again after the divorce, got a great rate pay, less per month than I did before. The rental property is cash flowing nicely. Brings in about $1,500 a month after expenses. Good investment. The 529 account is still there. Maybe someday I will have kids and use it. Maybe I will transfer it to a niece or nephew. Either way, it is protected. My career thrived post-divorce. Got promoted to Director of Analytics. Manage a team of 8. Salary increased significantly. Bonuses are strong. Without the distraction of a failing marriage, I focused entirely on work, and it paid off. I started dating about a year after the divorce. Met someone named Alicia. She is a teacher. Down to earth. Honest. We have been together for over a year now. She knows the whole story. Asked me once if I felt guilty about how I handled the divorce. I said no. That Kimberly was planning to blindside me, and I just moved first. Alicia said that was smart. That protecting yourself is not wrong. I appreciated that perspective. I also learned things about Kimberly after the fact. Turns out she was not having an affair, at least not that I know of. She just wanted out. Felt our marriage had run its course. Was not happy anymore. That is fine. People grow apart. But the way she went about it, planning, secretly calculating what she could take, preparing to file without warning, that was calculated. And it deserved a calculated response. Her lawyer friend Heather apparently coached her through everything. Told her to document finances, open separate accounts, prepare for battle. Kimberly followed that advice. She just did not count on me noticing. Did not count on me being smarter about money than she was. Did not count on me having 3 months to reposition everything while she finalized her plans. Do I regret how I handled it? Not at all. Some people say I should have confronted her when I found the notebook. Had an honest conversation. Tried to save the marriage. But here's the thing. That notebook showed me she was already gone. Mentally, emotionally, financially, she was just waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger. Confronting her would have accelerated her timeline, given her less to work with in terms of planning. I would have lost leverage. By staying quiet and moving assets, I controlled the outcome. When she finally filed, I was ready. Protected, positioned. She walked into a divorce expecting one thing and got something completely different. That was not cruelty. That was strategy. The thing about marriage is, it is a financial partnership as much as an emotional one. When that partnership dissolves, money matters. A lot. People who say otherwise are naive. Divorce is about dividing assets. And the person who understands that early, who prepares accordingly, who thinks strategically rather than emotionally, that person comes out better. Kimberly thought she had it all planned. 3 months of consulting with Heather and her attorney, calculations in her notebook, timeline for filing. She thought she was being smart. But she forgot she married someone whose entire career is understanding money. She forgot I notice patterns. She forgot I think 10 steps ahead. When her attorney called mine and said there is nothing left to take, I imagined Kimberly's face. The shock, the anger, the realization that I knew, that I had been moving pieces while she thought I was oblivious. That must have been a hard moment, and I do not feel bad about it. Not even a little. Would I do it again? Absolutely. If I ever suspected a partner was planning to leave, I would protect myself immediately. Not illegally, not unethically, but strategically. Because no one else will protect you. You have to protect yourself. To anyone reading this who suspects their marriage is ending, pay attention to the signs. Changes in behavior. Financial questions. New friends who are lawyers. Secretive phone calls. Separate accounts. When you see these things, do not ignore them. Do not hope they mean nothing. Start preparing. Consult an attorney. Understand your state's laws. Position your assets legally to protect yourself. And most importantly, do not confront until you are ready. Confrontation gives the other person time to react, time to hide their own assets, time to file first. Stay quiet. Stay strategic. Move when you are ready, not when you are emotional. Kimberly filed thinking she was in control, but I had been in control for 3 months before she ever signed those papers, and that made all the difference. I am 41 now, successful, in a healthy relationship, financially secure, living in a condo I own outright, managing a rental property that builds wealth, leading a team at work, building a life that is entirely mine. And none of that would be true if I had not paid attention 3 years ago, if I had not noticed the signs, if I had not acted. So thank you, Kimberly, for leaving that notebook where I could find it, for being careless in your planning, for underestimating me, because you taught me the most valuable lesson I ever learned. Trust your instincts, protect yourself, and never assume the other person is not paying attention. The best part of this story is not that I kept more money, it is that I took control of a situation that could have destroyed me. Kimberly wanted to dictate the terms of our ending. I refused to let her. I wrote my own terms, and I won. 3 years later, I do not think about her often. When I do, it is with indifference. She is someone I used to know. Someone who tried to take advantage of me and failed. Someone who learned that underestimating your partner is expensive, and that is all she will ever be. Have you ever suspected someone was planning to leave you? Did you confront them, or did you prepare quietly? What would you do if you found a notebook with divorce calculations in your partner's handwriting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story gave you insight into protecting yourself, hit that like button and share it with someone who might need this information. Subscribe for more real stories about marriage, divorce, and the importance of staying 10 steps ahead. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding that protecting yourself when you see the end coming is not wrong, it is necessary. Stay smart out there, and remember, in any partnership, the person who pays attention wins. Always.